Holy shit! A real fucking icebox! Huh.
There is no spoon.
What's wrong?
Seriously? Auto-updating now? General, I won't be able to calculate the right data for the satellite for 49 minutes.
How long till impact?
11 minutes and 44 seconds.
Fuck Microsoft!
Well, they call them interdimensional beams.
He, specifically asked for you, sweetheart.
By our powers combined, we give you the Galactic Family Podcast.
Put the phone down.
Hello, my name is Nick Pope, formerly from the British UFO Desk, and you're listening to the Galactic Family Podcast.
It's probing time.
Hey, how's everyone doing in the Galactic Family Podcast world? You know what time it is? It's probing time. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Phenomenon Pulse, the show where we separate speculation from science and bring you the latest developments in the world of UFOs, UAPs, anomalous research, and the biggest stories shaping the future of disclosure. Tonight is not just today is not just a milestone for the Galactic Family, but for everyone who's been following us and helping us with the investigation. For months, we talked about one thing and one thing only. What happens when you stop arguing over what a piece of material might be and actually send it to a professional laboratory to get it tested? Today, we're going to be separating the fact from the fiction. This is the metal debris fragment that was sent to me in the mail. This is the certificate of origin that came from the metal debris fragment. Hey, Scooby Dooby Gooby, good to see you. Again, this is a open discussion, open back chat. As soon as, let me get him on the stage. There we go. We got Thomas up here too. We will be talking about the latest that we have in this discussion as far as the metal that we found. Well, the metal that was sent to us. This was a metal debris was recovered from the crash site of unidentified flying object during the 1983 investigation recovery expedition at, I think it's Llanilar. How you say that?
I can't even see it.
Lianilar. That's a weird
Llanilar.
Yeah,
Llanilar,
something like that.
Yeah.
It's hey, Saucery, how you doing? Good to see you. North Wales. The sample is representative of other such material removed by the RAF and Ministry of Defense personnel. This was strange debris. All right. Now, I know you're not going to be able to read this, so I do have it pulled up in the back. This is the newspaper article that was sent along with the debris, and I'll read it for you here. An astonishing sight. Strange debris out of the sky. 23rd of January, 1983. An astonishing sight greeted Farmer Irwell Evans as he trudged across his field to tend to his newly born lambs. Hundreds of pieces of honeycombed metal foil were strewn all over the area, the size of 3 football patches. Huge, twisted alloy pieces, painted green on one side, gray on the other, lay everywhere. And in a nearby copes of branches had been seared off the trees. Mr. Evans telephoned the police. Soon his farm near Wales was like a film set from a spy thriller. Police took away fragments of metal for analysis. A team of unannounced, ununiformed RAF men with plainclothes officers combed the land and nearby woods using flashlights as darkness began to fall. Baffled, along the pile of debris taken away was an aerial and a large chunk. An aerial and a large chunk of metal with part of a serial number on it. Everyone concerned was convinced that whatever it was that covered Mr. Evans's field was fallen out of the sky in the dead of night. But after 2 weeks, the riddle still remained. Police are baffled. So too are the RAF. No one in the close-knit Welsh community heard a plane that night. Nothing unusual showed up on RAF radar scanners. Mr. Evans, 29, whose farm is 260 acres, single-handedly said, whatever tumbled from the sky broke up on impact. It must have been a fair-sized wreckage. It was scattered across 4 fields. Had it hit buildings, there's no doubt there would be devastation, could have been very terrific. It must have come down the night before I found it, for the area was clear in the afternoon when I checked the flock, yet I heard nothing at all unusual. Although the pieces themselves were extremely light, they must have fallen with some force to sever branches off of trees. It is all very disturbing. The secretary of the Farmers Union said, I have asked the Ministry of Defense for an explanation, but so far have had no reply. The RAF said they have no aircraft out at this time, that this debris must have landed, nor were there any maneuvers. Not only that, their radar scanners picked up nothing unusual. Meanwhile, villagers are still speculating about the debris. Could it be part of a larger weather balloon? No, say the police. Too much of the material over 3 football fields. Part of a satellite? Unlikely. Any remains would be charred. We have no explanation as of yet. It's baffling. An RAF spokesperson had said, the debris certainly had nothing to do with us. We are examining the fragments to try to place them together in the hope of a clue to where they have came from and what it actually is. So this is the metal that was strewn all over this guy's field. And I'll show you different pictures of it as we go along here. He has some of it here in a suitcase that he's carrying around. Here's another piece of it. And it's lightweight. Okay, that doesn't look lightweight to me, does it, Jim?
No, it doesn't. It looks heavy, yeah.
That looks really heavy. Yeah, Scooby, hold on one second here.
It must be
you got
porous.
the back.
It must be porous. If it's that light, it must be porous somehow, you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then we have the other picture here of the side view. And it has these little polymorphic like stranules coming out of it. They're not sure exactly what they are. We were actually looking at them at Falcon Space Labs. Hey, Thomas. Good to see you, man. Good to have you here. Yep, this is the results that we're getting back from this. It's pretty interesting. Had them looking at it under the microscope. You can see there. And it looks really interesting, man. Really interesting. So let's continue with what we got going on here. I'm going to bring up the report.
Did you mention that there's a serial number on that?
Yes,
Oh,
it mentioned Yeah, it mentioned in the report that there was a serial number attached to the side of one of these items they removed. Now, speculation on this is that, which I do have the Russian, the USSR, also was working on advanced satellite tech at the same time.
To
So
me, that makes me feel as though that it's somehow earthly connected, you know.
yes, and it very well could be. It very well could be. This piece of metal has that honeycombing like shape on it that makes it for dispersing signals very, very easily.
Uh-huh.
You know, even the zoomed in view of the metal pieces, they're honeycombed everywhere.
Right.
And it has substructure underneath of it, like these wavy lines underneath. They're all going the same direction, as if a signal will come in to one of these honeycombs and it will disperse it out amongst the other honeycombs into nothing. So you wouldn't have a signal bouncing back.
Right.
All right, let's get the first. Let me get it pulled up here. Now this, I guess I got to remove the other one. There we go. That's better. All right, let me get it. Nope, that's too small. Nah, that's better. Okay. This is the report that we got back. All right, a quick letter to discuss that. Now, this is funny, okay? He says a quick letter to discuss the methods and limitations of material testing, but also to explain the variety of information which can be collected from a small metal fragment. He says a quick letter. It's 65 pages long.
Wow.
So
That's a book. That's a book.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a book. All right, so to air this early, there are connotations around the subject of unidentified material which has come from the sky. First thing to acknowledge is that the material testing stage is not the full investigation. It is only come in the end of the work carried out across several decades by the original investigator, Mr. Gary M. Rowe, which was then furthered in the last decade by Mr. Chris James. And added in there would be that we have now furthered it along further by sending it to Utah. I got an update on that, actually. The Utah lab will be looking at it in the next couple weeks, and we should be getting a report back after that. So we'll have two reports.
This should be interesting.
Yes, this is the first initial report, and the second report will be more detailed than this one, and this is 65 pages. So apologies are extended for the length of this report, but Chris had wanted a quick and easy answer. He shouldn't have asked me. Well, the debris incident has, because I can't say that name, or Aberswish debris incident has wide appeal because it has stood as an unsolved mystery for 43 years. Additionally, and this is where an investigator should be neutral and accurate in any statement interpreting their data, national and international media have previously referred to the Lilith event as the Europe's Roswell, suggesting that professional and citizen journalists have already reached the conclusion that the object was not man-made and are hoping to add weight to the position. Now, we here at the Galactic Family Podcast, we're not trying to add weight to this decision, and we're not trying to speculate. We go off of the evidence. I'm going to go off of whatever is found. If it's human-made, it's human-made. It is important to be clear that in no sense were these tests performed to prove a pre-decided opinion. The instruction from Mr. James when providing the sample was to find out the objective truth, no matter whether that might be uncomfortable for those who have put so much effort into this. And that's exactly what we want here too. Addressing the stigma around the achromium UFO, it is true to say that not every object which has ever been seen in the sky has been identified. Therefore, anything seen in the sky which has not been matched with an accepted explanation is by definition a UFO. Exception, meteorological phenomenon, whereas the term UAP includes both. However, this acronym is wide in scope because unknown objects from the air can also be human-made on Earth by a registered company, technology, and not yet, out there for people. Man, I did not want to read all this, so let's see what they got here. That actually, however, the process should not be exclusively data-led because some reasonable and testable suggestions for the origin of the debris field have already been put forward by other interested parties. All right, let's see here. The obligation falls on the researcher to select tests capable of conclusively proving or falsifying the lines of inquiry already put forward, so they do not continue unchecked and can be proved or falsified to everyone's satisfaction. Additionally, consultation was held with subject specialists in defense science to collect their thoughts on what the debris might be, which generated completely new lines of inquiry that required testing to resolve it. All right. From the author's perspective, the resources are not in a place to carry out the same extensive work for every known sample, which people might want unexamined or want examined. So I encourage you researchers to decide which tests would be most suitable to identify their sample and to approach services which advertise commercially. We have done that already with the Galactic Family Podcast. We reached out. Tim, thank you for helping us out, getting us in touch with your people that have it going into the lab. I'm very excited for those results as well. This mystery is a special case for several reasons. The first is the opportunity to bring modern university equipment to bear on a hard nut to crack. I like that. The second is an opportunity to work on a sample that has an excellent provenance. The third is to explain the wider world that dismissive pop science statements such as, "You can tell it has been in outer space because of the isotopes," actually mean. In practice, I have not seen anyone try to open up that field knowledge to members of the public who are interested on the subject of retrieved crash materials, and that lack an attempt to communicate available methods is patronizing, which it is. I believe what we need to do here is tell the truth, no matter what it is. Let's see here. So, yes, but what could a tiny little piece of metal, just this big, tell us? What could that tell us? What could this tiny piece of metal tell us? So we're going to get into that. Now, an awful lot, actually. Thank you very much, Scooby Dooby, for the sparkles. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support of the show. An awful lot. A sample of manufactured material contains a multitude of information which can be extracted: its mass, size, and shape measurements, together with the attributed attributes of the elements used, and its formed structure can provide strong indications of the purpose for which the material was intended and the external forces which was designed to survive. How the material has then suffered or deteriorated over time. Microfractures. I have seen them. When we were in the lab in Falcon Space, we were actually looking at microfractures under the microscope that we could zoom into and see the inside of this material. And it was really strange looking. It really was. And I'm excited for this. Let's see here. We've also got, all right, so external, okay. How the materials then suffer to deteriorate over time, the microfractures, the chemical reactions, repairs. We've seen repairs, okay? You've seen, if nobody has seen it yet, in Skinwalker Ranch, they have this material that is a ceramic material. They say it's ceramic A-B material. And one of these ceramic materials is actually repairing itself after they're shutting off the electron microscope laser. They look at it with no light, and all of a sudden it's starting to repair itself. We've seen this inside of it. Okay, so repairs, abrasions, radioactive deterioration, impact force can provide a record of conditions to which it's been exposed. All right.
Haven't they discovered some metals where if you misshape them or crush them, they just go back into shape?
Yes. That would be the Roswell crash incident. Yep. The farmer went out, determined that when he would crush it in his hand and he would let his hand out, it would pop back out into the same
position, right?
Yes, into the same dimensions that it was in the original.
Yeah. Same design, yeah. Yeah.
So we have, if the element composition indicates high melting or high deformation point, then the designers probably anticipated it working in a high temperature environment. Okay. Specifically invested in raising that melting point at the cost of other attributes, economy of mass, of weight, which they would have no reason to do if not expecting those conditions. If composition indicates insulation was the goal, low temperature operating conditions, tundra, deep ocean, outer space, and a biological component inside that it would be necessary to protect are indicated. Thermal protection may also be indicated in the design to limit extremes which might affect the consistency of the internal equipment. Now, again, we see that the same honeycombing shape and on the bottom of our spaceships, of our heat shields, because it disperses heat as the spaceship comes in making reentry. So that is what we're also seeing on this piece of metal. Could it be for heat distribution? Possibly. So let me see here. Where was I? No shielding, radioactive, no biological component. Investigate further. Okay, here we go. However, if the sample is strongly radioactive or has no shielding, this suggests no biological component or passengers were expected. If the sample was weakly radioactive, this should be investigated further, as it could be an impurity in the original metal. Beryllium, sometimes found in impure aluminum, or it may have been generated after manufacture. Telltale isotopes are generated by cosmogenic radiation, meaning that the sample has been somewhere unprotected by a planetary atmosphere or magnetosphere. Okay. If the sample contains bismuth, a non-toxic substitute for lead, this would reduce the melting point of the metal alloy and make it easier to cast. But if in a high enough proportion, it would also effectively block ionizing radiation such as X-rays and gamma rays. So one could ask, what sort of conditions would be necessarily a trade-off to sacrifice high temperature cohesion to prioritize protection against radiation? That's a word. It's a very, very, very good one. Oh, joules. Oh yeah. I'm not sure about the joules, but I think it's cool. I think it's cool. Thank you, Scooby, for helping. Anything helps. Anything helps the show, man. Share, like, hit that like button. If the sample is transparent, then this suggests optical lensing, a widescreen or port for the purpose of observation, and the thickness and housing of transparent layer is a clue to the external pressure it was designed to survive. Whether the sample is porous, impervious, also narrows down the conditions in the design specific where it was supposed to design to be. Okay, that's what we need to find out. That's what he's trying to find out now. Where was this metal actually designed to be at? Okay, was it designed to be at, space? Was it designed to go deep ocean? We're not sure. That's why we sent it in. Now, if the composition provides maximum rigidity for the minimum weight, the designers probably intended either an airborne vehicle, horizontal flight, also requiring control surfaces, or an object to be transported initially through the atmosphere to reach its deployment location, like a shuttle, or otherwise vertical propulsion, requiring no control surfaces once in orbit. Caveat: a wide span may be an energy collecting panel as opposed to a control surface or wing. High strength to weight ratio would be optimal in the context of planetary gravity to enable fulfillment of its purpose at the minimal fuel expenditure. All right. If the material is radar frequency, now this is what we were talking about before, the radar frequency, dispersing radar waves, RF minimum or transparent, then that indicates it was intended to receive and broadcast radio frequencies without structural degradation or reflectance of the signal. All right. An investment in increasing tensile strength may include the structure had to survive physically intense conditions, compression, impacts, turbulence, or vibration. Resistance to torsion might indicate the sample was from a fighter aircraft designed to tolerate abrupt turns. Okay. Yes, Jim, man. Jim's awesome, man. Mentioned the metal earlier. Yeah. Yep. If the design allows for expansion and contraction, this suggests it was intended to operate in dissimilar environments. The Blackbird leaked fuel on the ground, fuselage plates contracted, but thermal expansion due to friction caused the craft to fit together accurately when operating at high speed and altitude. Jim, I could only imagine that. Here, you're going to go fly this plane, right? You're going to go fly your Blackbird, right? They're fueling it up. And all of a sudden, you got this giant puddle of fuel gathering on the back. And you're like, just jump in real quick and start flying. It'll be okay. It'll hold together. I love it. I love it how we do this. But it works. I guess it works at high speed and altitude to keep it together.
Right.
But yes, it is true. There is the Blackbird literally leaks fuel on the ground. When they fuel it up, it'll start leaking until you get up to peak altitude and speed, and then it stops.
I guess the air pressure holds it together.
It could be, yeah, I believe so. So in the shape of the sample, if the shape of the sample is aerodynamic, this suggests it was intended to operate within a moderate or thick atmosphere. Conversely, if it's not aerodynamic, then it may have been intended to operate outside an atmosphere where the vehicle's shape makes no difference at all. Satellite, spacecraft, or perhaps the metalwork came from inside the vehicle, structural support, utility storage compartment, or the propulsion system. Propulsion, solid and liquid fuel, radioactive sources, even theoretical ion drives leave residual traces on metal which can be detected. Only organic, formerly living material can be carbon dated, C14 isotope, aka radiocarbon dating, to estimate age. So that is not relevant to testing a metal fragment, with one exception below. As a rule, if anyone claims to have identified the age of a metal object using carbon dating, they're not telling you the truth. If they have instead dated a sample of organic material which has been attached to the metal object, then they have only dated the organic material, which may have been added recently, which does not give an age for the metal. The exception is where an iron object has been smelted using a rough process, which has left unconventional charcoal inclusions inside the metal mix, i.g. primitive iron age in implements. It goes without saying that aircraft and spacecraft are not constructed from poorly refined pig iron. Other isotopes can certainly be used. Yeah, I agree with that. We're going to use the best material for our aircraft. Although determining the age of the metal is difficult to prospect. There are clocks to show how long that metal has been exposed to the elements since manufactures, such as radioaction, half-life, and decay, if relevant to that sample. However, some radioactive isotopes have long half-lives, extending to hundreds of thousands of years. This list is far from exclusive and has been included to show how a small sample might provide enough information to identify the origin or original object, purpose, age, and where it has spent time since manufacture. Now, is there a way to test whether a metal sample has ever been to outer space? Simple answer, yes. There are 3 ways to answer this question with near certainty. Caveat: if the sample has only very briefly been to space, it may be insignificantly changed to produce a detectable result. For example, this would be the case if a satellite was deployed into an incorrect orbit and its propellant was used to bring it down early. It would not be relevant to a rocket booster launch failure. That material would never have left the atmosphere. There is a difference in exposure, consequently, rate of change between objects in low Earth orbit and those in high Earth orbit or beyond, or those exploring beyond the magnetosphere and not in the orbit at all. So you can tell, doing a metal sample, what section it was operating in, from the planet, under the water, in the air, above the air, in the magnetosphere, or out in outer space. So there is a method to measure within a metal saturation of isotopes, which has been created by exposure to cosmic radiation. It is also possible to calculate by isotope ratios how long it has been up there, from months to millions of years. Exposure to cosmic radiation outside the protection of the atmosphere leads to spallation reactions in some metals which create isotopes which don't occur in the same metal on the surface of the Earth, or are in insignificant amounts and weren't present in the sample before the metal went outside the atmosphere. This measurement is conducted with an accelerator, mass spectrometer specifically calibrated for those isotopes. Other types of mass spectrometers are not suitable. The main isotope indicate of the metal having been in outer space in descending order of half-life, and all of which are radioactive, long life, radionucleoside category are manganese 53, usually found in iron meteorites with long exposure histories, half-life of 3.74 million years. Wow. This is incredible. Let's skip ahead, guys. It's getting a little. Woo. All right. Here are some key isotopes which significant presence would indicate outer space exposure, where isotope ratios translate into time into space. All right. Type of materials: iron, nickel, silicate. Accumulates by spallation only with a long-term exposure in space. These are all the materials here. I'm not going to go over every one, but these are the materials that you would find in space machines that we're building currently. Rockets, gas engines, any kind of metal that would be in them is in here. Let's go down. Production decay model for cosmic isotope. Okay. There's the decay model. Inert gas isotopes. Oh, okay. All right, let's see here. Now, what's this one? Stable isotopes do not decay, but do accumulate steadily. So they're the best for measuring long exposure times, millions of years. Nothing resets them except melting or degassing. Radioactive isotopes are saturation clocks. Very true. There is also micrometeoroid pitting observation. Any microcraters present. This shows where the microscopic particles traveling at very high velocity have struck the surface and left a mark. Okay. All right, let's see. Earth is already in outer space, so the isotope, I'm reading from the bottom now. Organic sample, yes. Okay. Let's get through this because I would like to get to the actual sampling process. So these are ways. What would be identifiable about truly exotic element? What are you looking for? Here we go. All the elements so far identified by mankind are listed on the periodic table. None of these elements defy the 137 rule. The proportional strength of the electromagnetic interaction, aka the fine structure constant. Atoms with atomic numbers greater than 137 have never been observed by humans, and there's a good reason for that. Synthetic element organisium has neson has 118 electrons, the highest electron count that we known to be at the present date, and the highest in the natural element is uranium with 92. 137 electrons or greater would be something new and beyond human explanation. The reason it is assumed that 137 electrons is a hard limit is that it should not be possible for an electron to orbit faster than the speed of light, but at 137, It would have to move faster than the speed of light to stay in orbit. If the atomic number is 137 or higher, the velocity of the electron in the inner shell would be 130 times the speed of light or greater, violating the rules of special relativity. Mathematically, at this point, the energy levels for electrons then becomes imagery, a square root of a negative number, and this led to the electromagnetic black hole theory. Ooh. Paul Dirac then said, theoretical physics is a waste of time unless you can explain 137. As far as human knowledge is concerned, the speed of light sets a limit on the periodic table. However, modern quantum electrodynamics, QED, predicts that the actual limit for a stable atomic structure might be higher, where the atomic number could be up to 137, at which the vacuum itself would probably break down and emit, positrons, antimatter. A positron is an antimatter counterpart or antiparticle of the electron. Wow. Going off a sidetrack, conventionally with positron radiation involves the emission of an antimatter positron from an unstable proton-rich isotope, which instantly annihilate upon colliding with electrons in matter. This process releases two of these KeV gamma rays in medicine. This has a practical function because it enables PET scans to PET scans to image cancer in higher intensities. This radiation would destroy living cells. All right, getting into it here. If you have done 6 impossible things this morning, why not have breakfast at Milloway's, a restaurant at the end of the universe? That's Douglas Adams. Having gotten that out of the way, which follows this is the linear sample research, which I cannot write up as a research paper because the isotope people let me down by the unavailability of their mass spectrometer, at least a 6-month delay. And despite the fact that I found and I'm sitting on the answer, I see that the fragments have been sent to other investigators as well, so I am releasing my results early. And the results were the metal fragments. Chris had also sent us a sample to the Galactic Family. We had connections with Tim Anonymous through Thomas on Disclosure Tonight. If you've never seen that show, it's a wonderful show to be on. Wonderful show, wonderful time with great people. Thomas on Disclosure Tonight. We have, he sent us a sample, and that's why he released this early. So it's a 99% confidence that he has in this report. Now, introductory, here it is. A metal debris field was discovered, dispersed across 4 agricultural fields in North Wales on the night of 08 to morning of 09 January 1983, as initially reported by the resident farmer, Mr. Irwin Evans, then documented by a national newspaper collected by the Royal Air Force personnel and subsequently confirmed by investigator Mr. Gary M. Rowe, and more recently received by Mr. Chris James. In the same month, the RAF stated to Mr. Andrew Chapman, Express newspaper group, that the debris of which they had taken possession had not yet been identified. Despite attracting speculation, the origin of this debris remained undetermined up until the present report. A sample, hey, thank you so much again, Scooby, for the jewels. Like I said, I'm not sure what they mean. I'll figure it out, but thank you from the bottom of my heart for helping support the show and helping keep this going. Now, they had stated debris had taken possession, not been identified, despite tracks speculated. Where are we at here? A sample with provenance from Mr. Gary M. Rowe was present for the radio analytical laboratory and further materials testing in a private capacity at the Facility of Environmental and Life Sciences, University of Southampton. Beyond the attributes of the scale and weight, laboratory methods carried out to analyze the material included magnetism, radioactivity, optical microscopy, X-ray fluorescence, scanning electron microscope, structural crystallography, and laser ablation. It was intended that the MILEA accelerator mass spectrometer at the University of Lancaster's National Nuclear Users Facility would use the method used to measure isotopes created by the cosmogenic spallation reactions, primarily AL-26, a process which would ionize and destroy the sample, but this work could not be done due to the many months of delay during which the MILEA was and still undergoing calibration. This time in space measurement can still be done by Lancaster in the quoted cost of £1,342, assuming one measurement for the AL-26, AL-27 isotope ratio. Although the findings herein already establish origin without any additional reading, the original sample still exists in unaffected condition. Samples for comparative analysis may be sought from the original investigators, which we have and gotten. Based off the measured attributes and possibilities, an identification of the source of the debris was achieved with a high level of confidence of 99%. Origin: the incident and the subsequent chain of custody. The debris field from which this sample came from was discovered by a resident lamb farmer, Mr. Irwin Evans, on land in North Wales in the morning of 09 January 1983. As management of livestock is a daily activity, he stated that the debris was not present in the afternoon of January 8th. So it had appeared overnight. The affected area was estimated to be 3,800 square yards. That was the Sunday paper that we read in the newspaper. Strange metal debris falls from the sky. No one is on record as having witnessed the debris in the act of descending to the ground. It was claimed by Mr. Irwell in his statement to Mr. Gary M. Rowe, who documented the event, that nearby corpse of a number of treetops had been sheared off. Cops. I guess that's cops, whatever. Inferring that something from above or to the side at a treetop height had struck with force and without itself crashing amongst the trees, and an object which is then flown onward, inferred because no fuel, explosion, engine, complete aircraft wreckage, or presence of a plane was reported. Okay. No plane, no wreckage of the plane, meaning that we're not looking at a plane, or we could possibly be not looking at a plane. Speculation on what might have struck the trees was later linked by an interesting parties by a verbal claim by witnesses some distance away, which lacks supporting evidence, to have seen a low-flying aircraft traveling onward from a general direction in the night. Mr. Evans reported this event to the local police force responsible for the neighborhood policing team area. As a presumed aviation crash, police officers attended the scene and, in turn, are probably responsible for reporting the incident to the Royal Air Force, RAF, whose representatives, according to Mr. Earl, arrived at the scene within 1 to 2 hours and began the task of collecting the fallen material. Amongst what has been said to be hundreds of pieces of light, honeycombed metal sheeting and foil taken away by the RAF were reported to be an aerial and a heavier section of metal with a serial number on it. The use of a human cultural alphabet or numbers would have greatly assisted identification, but no record was made of these markings by the witness or witnesses who reported this. A UK national newspaper, the Sunday Express, covered the story in a piece published 14 days after the event, in which the RAF confirmed to the newspaper staff reporter, Mr. Andrew Chapman, that they were in full possession of the debris. Mr. Evans verbally informed Mr. Gary Rowe, investigating during the 1980s, that the collection operation on 9 and 10 January 1983 had taken a long time, so the RAF personnel had paused this activity in the reduction of available light that evening, stating that the intention of returning on the following day. In this window of opportunity, Mr. Evans collected a few large metal pieces as souvenirs and had taken them home. Some or all of these items passed to Mr. Rowe. RAF representatives attempted and failed to confiscate these samples from Mr. Rowe, who, having clearly anticipated their demand and resourcefully distributed 100 small samples set inside plastic keyring fobs to contracts and contacts throughout the UK. These are those samples that are here on this, how big they were. Now, we have a bigger sample than they had. They have like a littler piece than this. Our piece actually has a lot more, I guess, honeycombing to it than this little itty bitty piece. So seemingly without having established the landowner's permission, the RAF had then sent a work crew to the farm to cut down the damaged trees and remove surrounding soil. There is a discrepancy to note that there is one report of this action claim that the trees had been felled and lain on the ground, left. Another report claimed the trees had been felled and removed entirely from the site. This is an unusual measure. If it did take place as reported, suggests a thorough attempt at the recovery of potential shrapnel in the trunks of the trees, which then suggests an unreported kinetic event. The RAF and later the Welsh government have responded to contemporary Freedom of Information inquiries that the presumed aircraft was not theirs and they could not identify it. The RAF no longer acknowledged they are in possession of the metal debris. From the conclusion of this report, in the legal context of ownership, one might infer to whom the debris was subsequently delivered. I would take a guess that it's going to either Aero or someplace in the U.S. government has collected all this metal debris, because they did the same exact thing on the other incident that we are going to get into later on after this one, the Maury Island debris incident. That is also at 2 different labs, at Falcon Space Labs, and is going to be going to Utah as well. Okay, the RAF and later, okay, here we go. Now, whom was it delivered to? That's a good question. A photograph has been published online of one of the such sample of rigid, comparatively thick honeycomb pattern material filling a standard side briefcase. Additionally, samples were collected and still exist in the custody of Mr. Gary Rowe and Mr. Chris James, and as well the Galactic Family Podcast. of a comparatively thicker and more flexible foil material, metal material. For the purpose of testing, Mr. Rowe broke off a fragment from the thicker 1.2 millimeter deep honeycomb material and supplied it to Mr. Chris James along with a signed certificate of origin, which we have showed you here on the screen. This is the certificate of origin for exactly where it came from. So, along with signed, Mr. James delivered the sample and certificate of origin to the author of this report for material testing. We have also delivered our sample to labs with the chain of custody. This is the sample here. Millimeter scale, optical microscope image. Yellow color is reflected light from the microscope. The uppermost side is the reported repeating honeycomb pattern of non-geometric raised edges. Here's the initial observations from the sample. Sample deformation condition as supplied. The sample was evidently detached by some form of clipping and minor bending, causing the structure member to curve under transverse load, creating micro compression on one side of the and tension on the other, and not by torsion, which instead deforms materials along with the edges, shearing them from perpendicular to the longitudinal axis. Thus, information was lost as the curve in the sample supplied cannot be assumed to be the same as the curve in the metal sheet from which it was detached. This is regrettable, as the microscope measurement across the section determined the degree of curve could be exfoliated to find the scale of the full circle. If one exists, this measurement would be very useful. We actually have the, bent, not twisted. We have the measurement of, I'm not sure who this report is from. I'll get to the top again here later on. But if you are the person who wrote this report, get in touch with us. We have the metal sample that we can give you the exact measurement, millimeter of these honeycombed sections. Now, this measurement will be useful because determining exact diameter, indicate example, the dimension or fuselage or literal extent of a wing, which hypothetically could be enough to identify a model of an aircraft in service at that time. Equally, no curvature at all would rule out many possibilities related to aircraft. For future researchers who wish to pursue taking measurements of curvature, note that detaching a metal sample without deformation using a laser requires a cold cutting approach, which minimizes the heat affected zone, HAZ, and prevents thermal warping. The most effective method is to use high-speed fiber lasers, not diode or CO2, optimizing parameters for low heat. Now, again, that was of the sample that we have here. It was used to, we have a sample that was cut using high-speed fiber lasers. That means this sample that we have here that is in the lab, these two labs that we have sent them to. So this is one report we're reading, and we will have two other reports coming in. One from Falcon Space Labs and one also from Anonymous Tim, who is sending it to a Utah-based lab. So let's get into the most effective. Okay, so visible, blah, blah, blah. The contact area acts as the stress load transfer surface for bonded components, so the lack of pre-existing deformation can determine whether the material was manufactured and set into a curved shape, or instead whether it was curved mechanically after a flat metal sheet of material was milled or manufactured. So here's a bigger piece. You see where he cut it there, or bent it, or I'm sorry, bent, not twisted. Yes, exactly, sorcery. Bent, not twisted. Now, again, in the same sample here, you see these fiber optic material that's embedded within the actual metal pieces themselves. Okay, that is strange in my mind, but not uncommon for stealth technology to disperse radio waves so that you will not be detected on radar. And if the RAF says that they did not detect this on their radar system, could we actually be looking at advanced early stealth technology, or someone messing with stealth technology and it happened to crash? That's a definite key example. Microfracturing, possibly due to sample separation. We're going to have that. Our piece did not have the microfracturing due to it coming apart. Kim, aka Anonymous Rex. Yes. Awesome guy. Incredible guy. We did not have that. Now, we did, however, find under the microscope that there is microfracturing on this piece of metal from extreme heat. Okay. This sample here that we have is a fresh sample, not like the one that you'll be seeing here that was, bent, obviously. Our sample was cut very cleanly. And it's still, our sample still has the same kind of strands coming out of it. So when you're looking at these, you're thinking to yourself, why are they putting these strands in this, right? Very, very easy, okay? Now, either this is for heat distribution. Now, like you see on the bottom of a space shuttle, okay, coming in, or the bottom of a capsule, you'll see the honeycombing. That's heat distribution, okay? We figured that out a long time ago. It can also be used, however, distribute heat, distribute radio signals. Nobody can get a fix on this plane, meaning RAF's not going to see it coming in. It comes in, they don't see it, it crashes. Could have been an advanced test, but they're saying it wasn't an aircraft, but it had a serial number on it. Okay. Let's go with that. Advanced tech, satellite, space, heat distribution. Could we be looking at an advanced version of a stealth satellite that came down, that sheared off the trees as it came down? Could be. Could very well be. So, the mental measurement. This is non-intrusive, the observations he made first. Initially and incorrectly appeared to be a laminate of 3 layers, a dark gray-green color, layered visually similar to paint, a shiny white metal layer. Hold on 1 second. I'll get to that question you have there real quick, Saucery. A shiny white metal layer that resembled aluminum, then a honeycomb material layer. It was unclear which layer was external and which was internal to the overall structure, although painted layers are typically on the external surface of aircraft. But again, they didn't see the aircraft coming in. Satellite advanced tech for dispersing radio waves or aircraft. It could be aircraft. They did not see it coming in on the radar. Now, the repeating honeycomb pattern was in a raised grip style in each cell in the semi-complex pattern, measured to the nearest decimal, 4 millimeters times 3. A 3 to 4 line striation, raised and grooved, alternating lines imprint could be seen within the boundaries of each cell. Same thing as what you see here on this picture. You see within these honeycomb patterns, there seems to be some sort of grooving, alternating imprint that can be seen within these boundaries of these cells. These, in these cells, are, let me get it here, these fiber optic materials that has been seen inside of this object. Same thing you see here on the object. Magnesium. A neodymium magnet failed to lift the sample from the flat surface, indicating low presence of iron, cobalt, or nickel. This rules out some metals, but not aluminum. Technically, not all ferrous materials are strongly magnetic, except included aesthetic stainless steel being non-metallic or weakly magnetic, non-magnetic or weakly magnetic due to their nickel content and specific crystal structure. Despite containing iron, magnetic properties depend on the metal's atomic structure and how iron atoms' magnetic spins align. Not just the presence of iron, however, non-magnetic metal more probably indicates low iron content than high iron content. When lightweight and low or no magnesium are taken in combination with a white metal, that is still shiny after being exposed to an oxygen-rich atmosphere for some time. Visual observations remain constant with the material being layers of aluminum in various degrees of purity. So here we see another faint, the green tinted painted coating. 3D printed? I'm not sure if it would be 3D printed in 1983. Possibly advanced printing. I'm not sure. Could it be weaved? Now let's get to this question. Let me see. Could it be weaved for strength, like how strands of carbon fiber allow for epoxy to be E strong, hold shape very? That could be too. It could be weaved for strength. Like I said, okay. When you have a spaceship coming in for re-entry, okay, you have this kind of, let me get it up on the screen, this kind of honeycombing shape on the bottom of your teardrop, or spaceship coming in for, a landing or into the atmosphere will be at an angle. They are going to hit the atmosphere with this, okay, with this honeycomb shape and disperse it. That's why I was saying it could be for strength as well too, Saucery, for this metal that has been analyzed, because of the fact that you would need that as well for strength if you're coming in for re-entry into an atmosphere. So it could very well be for very lightweight, for very strength, hold it together. So getting into it now, we also have, now you see this, the painted layer, okay? The one external layer of the metal sample appeared to be painted, which seemingly gave an opportunity to identify the vehicle from that alone. At no point was it reported that the Llanilar debris field included a wheelbase or TARS, so not a road vehicle, and therefore probable that it descended in a particularly completely uncontrolled manner from above. There was also no report of the debris, including an engine or seat. When looking for a candidate for painted metal, we should first consider objects which operate within the atmosphere, as they are more numerous that high-level objects to be considered in the next section. Okay. Painted aircraft. Okay. This could be a painted aircraft. Okay. It is known that aircraft are typically painted originally. They were not painted because adding up to 50 pounds of weight to an aircraft reduces the vehicle's fuel efficiency and flight time and range. So unnecessarily, weight equals at higher cost to complete the same journey. However, with the development of thinner, lightweight paint layers and more powerful jet engine, the advantages of painting an aircraft soon outweighed the reduction in efficiency. Earlier paints may have contained lead, so that it would be an element to look for during the testing stage. Okay. We also have a website here for the information. Opinion was gained from a currently serving member of the UK Ministry of Defense with professional scientific knowledge, who advised that the paint shade might be NATO olive darab green, or RAL, light reflectance value 8.25 or similar. If so, this would significantly narrow the search to a NATO aircraft of service in 1983. In contradiction to this, and another contradiction, is that they didn't see an aircraft in the area. The RAF said we did not have an aircraft on radar. So that would contradict again what we're looking for here. So we're looking for an aircraft. Let's see where this leads us. Match up British paint sprays. Okay. So this is what they used to look for this exact type of paint. I guess it was on the outside. Cut resistance, create small bubbles. I don't know about resistance. The bubbles wouldn't be created. It could be created. Is this doc in the Discord channel? Yeah. No, this doc is not in the Discord channel. Sorry, Thomas Mounson. I will be putting this in the Discord channel as soon as we are completed with this. This doc will be in there. Let's see here. So the closest spectral measurement was chrome green, closest civilian, but was far from the exact match. In conclusion, the paint does not closely match any international standardized NATO paint shades. In combination with there being no reports of military or civilian aircraft, mandatory civilian aviation authority notification being lost in Wales around this date, the chance of the debris representing an aircraft accident recedes accordingly. Let's see, at high speeds, I believe it would, but it would try to create air bubbles, imperfect, improves aerodynamics high. Yes. Now, Saucery, here's a question for you. At high speeds in the metal, wouldn't you be able to determine that there were bubbles within the metal itself in a lab report? If you take it to a lab, can you determine whether it created bubbles inside of the metal itself at higher temperatures? That's a question. All right, I guess we'll wait for sorcery. Not bubbles in the metal, lie tiny pockets of air around. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. Actually, let me show comments on the screen too. Sorry for that. I didn't have them on. All right, so now moving on. All right, we are moving on from the aircraft because they did not have an aircraft in the sky. However, cannot rule out again that this is some sort of radio dispersing stealth technology on a plane. So he still can't rule out that it would be a plane. He's ruling it out. We're not going to rule it out totally because of the fact of the honeycombing pattern. I still think heat dispersion, signal dispersion. That's what I come up with. Now, moving on to the next level elevation, why would anyone want to paint a satellite? It seems counterintuitive, that satellites would not be painted because that would increase the deployment cost, okay? Fuel expenditure, and in orbit, there's no human audience to view the satellites. Who cares if you have a nice bright picture up there? Other than the aliens, I mean, right, Jim?
Yep.
So satellites
I believe this to be a part of the Royal Air Force experiment of some sort that they want to keep under wraps as usual.
Yes, that's exactly what I think it is too, Jim. Now, satellites are instead identified using transponders, part of telemetry, tracking, and a command system. If this were paint for the purpose of either camouflage, it would arguably argue strongly against it having come from a satellite or space vehicle. Yes, I would have to say the same thing. Why paint it? It doesn't need to be painted in space. So then we have a discrepancy there. So maybe not space-based, maybe higher orbit-based. All right. So, however, the scanning electron microscope and laser ablation results given later in this report have revealed the element composition of this layer and helped to identify its true nature. Simply put, it was not applied to fulfill the standard function of paint or decoration. Honeycomb pattern. Here we go. Now, it was speculated in some informal consultation that the honeycomb pattern might potentially be raised grip surface similar to those found on steps or extending down to the wing from a cockpit to avoid slipping in wet, icy, or windy conditions. Yes, I will say that they do have some kind of ridges on the aircraft. Not sure if they're honeycombed or not. Not a pilot, so I was in the Army, retired Army. I did chemical weapons, nuclear, radiation, and anything that no one else wanted to deal with. This could provide one explanation of why it was not painted, because filling the concave shape of the honeycomb cells would reduce the height difference versus the ridges and defeat its purpose, leaving a flat surface instead of a gripping surface like we have on this, sample here. Okay, or going into, further zoomed in, you have it on the ridges. Now, looking at honeycomb aluminum found in aircraft are not used for found in aircraft and aerospace technology, but they are not used for aircraft primarily structured. They're too fragile, impact sensitive, missiles, vibration and shock intolerance, or rocket motors, thermal or mechanical mismatch. Where am I at here? Aircraft do not use honeycomb in interiors, but those panels are bonded to composites or thin skins, contain adhesives, resins, and foam, would typically have sought adhered to them in breakup events and would never be AlCu and Mg alloy with high oxide content as found later in the SEM results. Aluminum honeycomb panels are used when you need extreme stiffness to weight, thermal stability, large flat structural areas, and minimal mass penalty. That combination without paper resin filling helicopters is iconic to spacecraft and very rare elsewhere. The honeycomb panels are used in satellites, bus panels, and equipment decks, payload adapters, and separation structures, upper stage and secondary structures, and space station modules, older designs. The structure does not match aircraft interior panels, but further investigation was needed to eliminate this possibility with complete confidence, as non-standard and experimental aircraft do exist. Just like you said, Jim, this could be an experimental version of a stealth technology that they were developing at the time.
Exactly. That's what I believe. Yeah.
Structural strength in military aircraft. The defense sector advisor suggested that if any aircraft could fly lower than the tree line and was structurally strong enough to strike and chop tree tops and continue flying, it would be the Buccaneer. The author considered this possibility to be worthy and thorough investigation, as the involvement of an RAF nuclear bomber, NATO's foremost anti-ship nuclear bombing platform during the Cold War, would be consistent with the reported RAF cleanup operation and any associated operational and informational security. So are we looking at an RAF Buccaneer Bombardier NATO aircraft? Helicopters. The design speculation for an RAF military helicopter in 1982, 1983 was that of the rotor blade must be able to cut a 2-inch diameter tree without itself breaking. This is one possible explanation for a treetop being cut, but again, no aircraft being found beneath them. However, the helicopter explanation appeared improbable because multiple trees were involved. A whole forest corpse of trees was later removed, and the debris field dispersal was over too large of an area for a slow, compact little vehicle, to be in that area. It says, let's see here. And the debris field dispersal was over too large of an area. A compact vehicle, which would probably have dropped to almost 80 feet, had speculation on tree length, on the tree height, and remain mostly in one cohesive airframe. If it had struck a stand of trees, unfortunately, no record is available of the diameter at which the trees were sheared, the direction and the angle of impact, or the density of the planting. I did look at MapQuest and other maps in that area, and it does show if we were to go into that area again and take a second look at this location, I do believe those trees are still there. They were cut down, but they were removed and they were thrown to the side. Some were removed, but some were not. We could possibly be able to find the diameter of these trees that were cut with this material. I think the aluminum together for the strength, along with vectored. I think the honeycomb under the paint is more likely created micro air bubbles like a golf ball. Could be, could very well be. It could be sorcery with the high heat intensity creating. It could have. However, let's continue here. We'll see what we come up with. Honeycomb material was indeed used in helicopter airframe and the components of the time since the 1960s, but it was a deep and wide cell honeycomb, 5 millimeter depth, made from paper impregnated with resin, and is primarily purpose aside from rigidity, was sound insulation, acoustic baffles, each helicopter containing nowhere near the quantity of honeycomb and foil debris which was reported. So, excuse me. So, no helicopter. We can rule that out. I'm going to rule out helicopter because of the amount of the debris that was found. Helicopter is out of the question. Suggestion, assumption, based on the damage, the continuation of flight after striking the trees. This is the Buccaneer hypothesis. Would rely on the aircraft extremely strong structural integrity and powerful engines, of which the 500 plus active models of the man-made aircraft in use in 1983 would narrow down the field to one design of wing aircraft, which coincidentally was also the world's second lowest flying aircraft, the lowest being the Aeroplan, which operated 3 to 16 feet, but only in the Caspian Sea. This one, the Blackburn Buccaneer, named the Brick, was structurally strongest, most resilient jet aircraft in the world, designed to fly extremely low, operating floor 10 to, operating floor of 10 to 20 feet. Wow. Solid steel wings and billets with stiffened machine metal stress skin. Aviation Republic stated that the Blackburn engineers understood that they needed to build an immensely strong aircraft that could withstand the structural stresses and airframe fatigue caused by the severe buffeting of high-speed, low-level flight that was most expected during almost every sortie. Wow, that's pretty interesting, Jim. 10 to 20 feet.
Yeah.
So it'd have to be the wings would have to be extremely strong to operate at that level.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's got to be in the design, I would think.
Yeah, the structural design of it itself.
Yeah.
A running joke at the time was that the Buccaneer had windscreen wipers to clear off the grass cuttings. Oh, that would be funny. Windshield wipers to cut it. You're going over some guy's field and you're getting the debris off the field, like on your jet. Oh, wow. Its engine in 1980 models was the new Rolls-Royce Spey with 11,200 pounds of thrust. It flew from Canada to Lucy Mouth, Scotland, without refueling. It also flew from Lucy Mouth across Wales and the Irish Sea to Gibraltar and back on a dummy bombing mission, also without refueling, 2,300 miles. This sounds like a big fat aircraft to me. Something that
would have to hold a lot of fuel.
Yeah, but something you would definitely see though, Jim, if you know on
Oh,
radar,
yeah,
right?
right.
So these aircraft came into service, the Royal Navy's fleet in 1962, painted blue. We did not have blue paint on this piece, so it was green in color. But then it went to here it is, 1969, repainted NATO colors, including olive, Durham. A question existed as to whether this fact explained the depth of the supposed paint layer, but at that layer was a single color, not olive over blue, and all RN aircraft has been transferred and repainted as RAF aircraft by 1983. Many informative documentaries about this aircraft capabilities have been published. All right. Let's get into this even more because we're only on the 21st page. So let's get down to the nitty gritty here. Cosmic 1402 hypothesis. Only 2 days before the debris fell in Wales, the New York Times printed an article, January 7, 1983, Section A, page 1, which records the U.S. protesting to the Russian government that their Cosmos 1402 aluminum 5-ton reconnaissance satellite with 100 pounds of enriched uranium aboard was out of control and descending. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, which monitors all orbital traffic, reported that the satellite, Cosmos 1402, continued to behave erratically and lose altitude. It is now about 150 miles above the Earth, and as current rate of descent could plunge into the atmosphere by the end of the month. This was reported in the newspaper here. Let's see if it has it here. Yes, there it is. Reported right on the newspaper article here. Soviet officials denied yesterday that their nuclear-powered reconnaissance satellite was out of control and in danger of crashing into Earth. But American officials said our information is different and placed a nuclear emergency search team on standby alert. Right here it states that the North American Aerospace Defense Command, which monitors all orbital traffic, reported that the satellite Cosmos 1402, which continued to behave erratically and lose altitude, it is now about 150 miles above the Earth, and a rate of descent could plunge into the atmosphere by the end of the month. The command, known as NORAD, said it would be unable to give more than a few hours warning of when and where the satellite was likely to come down, and a pre-planned operation will be cited. But Vice President of the Soviet Academy of Sciences said at a new news conference in Moscow that the changes in Cosmos 1402's orbit were part of a pre-planned operation, although he declined to discuss any details. It is not a dangerous situation, he insisted, and we have no worries about the fate of this Sputnik. Oh, they're making jokes towards us. Ha ha ha. This brought responses from the American government, a mixture of hope and skepticism. To the space experts, the Moscow statement raised the possibility that the Soviet Union was confident they could command the satellite to climb higher. I don't know. Obviously, let me see here. I mean, we do have a lot more objects in space now. Going off of this report, if you guys would like to read that, it is here on the screen. You type in that address there and you could read it yourselves. We will be going on here to the next one. Now it says the Cosmos 1402 radar and ocean optical reconnaissance satellite was launched from Site 90 in the Missile and Space Complex. Where's that? Baikonur Cosmodrome in the Soviet Union on August 30th, 1982, aboard this Tusculon 2 rocket. This object got into difficulties in October 1982, and the first section to become detached fell out of orbit December 30th, 1982, as stated by a spokesperson of NORAD. 2 other sections were being monitored at the time: the main body, which separated into the main frame and the reactor core, and a fragment, although a larger section were monitored in descent. No subsequent record where the debris fell exists in the record, meaning they're not going to tell you. If it had any kind of uranium, any kind of subsequent radioactive material, they're not going to tell you. It's going to be confiscated by any means necessary as quick as possible. Now, the satellite followed an elliptical orbit west to east, but it can be assumed that the lowest altitude of the ellipse to reduce atmosphere depth would be over the Pacific Ocean, North America, Wales, and southern UK carrier and the submarine ports, such as its purpose was radar and optical reconnaissance over Cold War coastal naval facilities, photographing NATO fleet movements. Now, here's a question for you, Jim.
What's that?
If we knew this thing was coming in, NATO was tracking it, right?
Yeah.
They could have done a assisted ground-based, where it was coming in at. They could have forced it down, figured out it was coming into UK territory, and just collected it.
Possible, yeah.
Okay, so another possibility we have then would be, here we go, advanced satellite tech from the Russians. If we really knew that this thing was uncontrollable at the time, we could have tried to bump it, make it come into orbit where we want it to, and collect the pieces. So 5 months after launch, 173 miles above sea, according to NORAD's trackable figures. The main body of the satellite included the nuclear reactor had descended to 20 miles. It made a full orbit every 89.5 minutes, elliptical high point of 153 miles, low point of 145. NORAD concluded that 70% of its track was over open ocean. According to page 1 of New York Times on 24 January 1983, quoting from the Russian authorities, the main body of the satellite burned up harmlessly earlier the same day over the central Indian Ocean at 1:10 in the morning, Moscow time, on January 24, 1983. And there is an inset map of the orbital track showing it passing over Wales in its final descent. Let us see this. So it says it's going to show us. Where is the picture? Nope, no picture. Does have the picture in the actual newspaper article here. If I zoom, actually. Can I get it? Yes, I can. Ooh, I don't like that. We are not subscribing. So, trying to get it a little bit closer here. There we go. So it does show the orbital pattern, the final orbit of Cosmos 1402. It shows it going over, looks like Florida, Greenland, Iceland, maybe, UK, and down through the Strait of Gibraltar, where the Iran is there. So it looks like it's it's mostly ocean, but there is some land where it could fall in South Wales. All right. In reality, the Russian statement was not accurate and the material came down separately. So they said that this material came down all at once in the ocean. But NORAD was tracking 3 different pieces of this object. So one piece came down in the ocean, but subsequently another piece could have fallen anywhere in that debris field. That's why we probably picked it up.
They did this, what they discovered, what they did discover, was it all small pieces, or?
It was small pieces of metal fragments and foil, kind of, and it was spewed over about 3 football fields.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I ruled out helicopter. I said, that's way too much debris to be a helicopter. It's almost too much debris to be a plane, but it could be a plane, high impact, and you would have a debris field flying out. So that could happen too.
Yeah, but with a plane, I'm sure you'd find like some engine or something to identify it.
That was the other thing.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly, Jim. No engine, no cockpit, no
Fuselage.
No fuselage were found there. It was just all metal fragments. So it could have been, I think it's satellite.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the Russians had a stealth satellite that they said they had that was up there taking pictures of NATO military personnel. NATO found out, NORAD found out that this satellite is now degrading in orbit, and they can now push it in the direction where they want it to go. Then they get the debris. They find out what the Russians know, what optical, capabilities they have, and we can, national security ourselves to death, I guess, and not let anything out. All right, let's see here. So we have the heavier reactor core with its 100 pounds of unshielded uranium re-entered over the South Atlantic Ocean on February 7, 1983. Traces of uranium-235 were detected in the rain samples in Arkansas, in the U.S. That is interesting. So people in the U.S. in 1983, right here. So February 7th, let's do that. Traces of uranium-235 were detected in rain samples in Arkansas. Okay, I am now going firmly with satellite. I want to go firmly with satellite, with stealth technology, satellite imager that they had up there. Let me see here, because they detected radioactivity, uranium. Later that year, indicating destruction in the atmosphere instead of the bulk of the satellite surviving the descent with radioactive casing intact and entering the ocean. Here is another thing I'll bet nobody's thought of. It entered the ocean, right? Who in here is brave enough to send a FOIA to NORAD to find out where it fell in the ocean and if they sent anybody to recover this material? That would be me. I'm going to send a FOIA to NORAD to find out where this location is. Match the timing with space shuttle and space. Yeah, I mean, you could try to match it with everything they have. I would try to match it with NORAD, with the debris, with what they're tracking, with because NORAD's going to have a lot more a lot better capabilities than Earth-based, ground-based radar systems that might be jammed from honeycombing or the radio wave signals dispersing off of the metal. The destruction to the mid to lower atmosphere would, because it would have not. Oh wait, where are we at here?
The thing with that is, would we be able to trust NORAD's explanation?
I would not trust anybody's explanation, Jim. Personally, I go with the most probable explanation, which right now we've got a lot of them that we're spitting out. I mean, it's not a helicopter, could be a satellite, could be stealth tech plane.
It could be an experiment. Yeah, it could be an experimental, type of flight with something new that we don't know about.
Exactly.
That they keep under wraps.
Exactly. It says
That
now.
would be my guess. That would be my guess.
Ooh, wait a minute. Oh, I like that. Look at this. I know they went and recovered that. Somebody did. Later that year, indicating destruction in the atmosphere instead of the bulk of the satellite surviving the descent with the radioactive casing intact and entering the ocean. These dates show that following high altitude disassembly, the sequence of sections falling was that the lightest pieces that were easily slowed by atmospheric resistance fell out of orbit first due to their lower mass, yes, and high propensity to slow down in air resistance. Yep, thin, flat, and lighter pieces of aluminum would more likely lose momentum and float down to the ground slower, subsequently heating less and retaining structural integrity better. Mild thermal and impact deformity is realistic. Like I said, Jim, when we had these pieces under the microscope, we were actually able to see micro fracturing within the metals with it. When it came down within the atmosphere and it was superheated, we could see these micro fracturings in the metal of our piece. Melting point to lower atmosphere because it would have been slowed as much as the lighter sections. Therefore, a lighter aluminum material, such as the found in whales, would be expected to have fallen in early or mid-January rather than late January or February. Now, they need to calculate the satellite. Now we're getting into the calculations of the satellite. So NORAD figured out to the nearest degree, it is no longer possible to say how often the satellite was expected overhead, but it can be determined that it was the swath of the passage over the area within viewing range of the farm. Additionally, with the declining orbit, and the exact altitude is uncertain for purposes of this calculation. So a mean altitude figure based on the flatter line of the orbital ellipse was used for the upper and lower stages of the orbital decline. So this is the orbital decline of the object. So if we're talking about orbital decline, obviously then it was in orbit. So now we're not talking about a plane.
Right. That's a re-enter,
yeah. We're not talking about a helicopter, a plane, a thing that's 10 to 20 feet off the ground. Now we're talking about re-entry into an atmosphere. Satellite re-entry. I'm not going to go over the, with NORAD's calculations, but I will go through it here and go down with you. Now, aluminum foam as an indicator for or functional purpose, origin, and dating material. Now, the point isn't about aluminum in aircraft and spacecraft. As the world's first all-metal aircraft, 1915, the Junkers J1 was made from aluminum. That's a great name. That's a great name. The Junkers J1 was made from aluminum. Aluminum has been used in aircraft ever since. Duraluminum 70-75 was a standard alloy used in World War II aircraft production, although some wooden aircraft, i.e. the Mosquito, persisted and still had one advantage, as they were less reflective to radar waves, or particularly radar transparent. Sputnik 1, 1957, was made from a completely thick aluminum alloy for structural stiffness and meteoroid impact absorption. Aluminum alloys have since been used in the Apollo spacecraft, the Skylab station, space station, the space shuttles, and the International Space Station, to name a few. It also isn't about foaming light metals in general. Process patented by Llanilar, 1926. Instead, the area of interest is specifically the proportions of elements in the aluminum foam. These inclusions have changed over time and may therefore be used to date the material, tie it to a patent or known family of machines. So now we're trying to tie this metal to a known area of machines. And we are only on page 25 of 65. So on that notion, I'm going to pause it there, and we will go on to another thing that I had planned today, which was the fact that, let me get it here. I'm very, very happy to announce that the UAP Transparency Act has freaking passed the House. It's now off to the Senate. So, a bill to require the release of, now this was sent in, this is 119th Congress, first session, HR 1187, to require the release to the public of all documents, reports, and other records relating to unidentified anomalous phenomenon and for other purposes. In February 11th, 2025, Mr. Burchett introduced the following bill, which was referred, let me get it here. Hold on. I'll get it for you guys. There we go. Introduced a bill which was referred to the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, a bill to require the release to the public of all documents, reports, all documents and reports, and other records relating to unidentified anomalous phenomenon and for other purposes. To be enacted by the Senate and the House Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled. Short title: this act may be cited as the UAP Transparency Act. Public availability of certain information relating to unidentified anomalous phenomenon. In general, no later than 270 days after the date of the enactment of this act, the President shall direct the head of each federal department or agency in possession of documents, reports, and other records relating to unidentified anomalous phenomenon to declassify and make available on a publicly available website of each such department or agency all such documents, all, or reports or other records. Report no later than 360 days after the date of enactment of this act, a quarterly thereafter, the president shall transmit to the committee and oversight and accountability of the House of Representatives and the Committee on Homeland Security and Government Affairs of the Senate a report detailing the progress toward implementing subsection A, which was to get us disclosure. In subsection A, made by each federal department and agency. Definition. In this section, the term unidentified anomalous phenomenon has the meaning given such term in section 1683 of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2022. Now, yeah, I need national security. That's right, Scooby. So it is passed, Jim.
Does it say when it's scheduled to go before the Senate?
Immediately is what I heard.
Oh, yeah.
Immediately is what I heard, but I am skeptical to think that this is not going to get pushback from the Senate, because it's literally saying all such records, all, not we're gonna look and sort through them and we're going to make a determination whether or not, no, all records. I love it. Another one coming up. This is the conference that I will actually be at. This is the ICGAC, the third International Conference on Gravitation, Astrophysics, and Cosmology. We will be in Berlin, Germany, May 26th and 27th, 2027. Jim, you're more than welcome to come with us, brother. It's going to be a fun time. So the conference offers presentations by the world's most influential minds in the fields of gravitation, astrophysics, and cosmology.
Yeah, I'd love to go, but I'm 73. I got health issues.
Hey, Jim, I'll live stream it for you.
Yeah, I got I'm oxygen dependent. I'm on oxygen therapy and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man.
So I'm unable to travel, especially that distance.
That's a shame, man. But I'll still have you there with me. I'll bring a screen with me. You can call in. You can be right there with me.
All right. Sounds great.
Yeah. Third annual conference. Now, compelling plenary talks on the most important issues by the most important minds in the field, aimed at students and young professionals in an exhibition. Now, here's what we're going to be doing. We're going to bring together distinguishing scientists, researchers, academics, industry professionals, and students from around the world to exchange in groundbreaking discoveries, discuss emerging challenges, and foster international collaborations. That's what I'm there for. I would like to be there, and I will be there, thankfully, for the conference, because we got invited. And I was, oh my God, I was so thankful, so humbled to be invited to this.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it up here. I'll bring up the one page here. I gotta bring it up on another page here. Here is Where's my notifications? Here we go. So if you look on, let me pull this up for you guys. Whoop. Come on now. Back. Now, there we go. Okay, got it. All right, sorry about that. I'm trying to get this here. Here is, there we go. All right. Now I'll put it on the screen. There we go. All right. Let me make this bigger. So this is our keynote speaker address. Where is the bottom? Whoa. Back. There we go. Okay. All right. Keynote speaker announcement. ICGAC 2027. We are delighted to welcome Mr. Jason Robert Albertson, host and founder of the Galactic Family Podcast, as a keynote speaker
There you
at
go.
the third annual conference, at the third International Conference on Gravitation, Astrophysics, and Cosmology, ICGAC 2027. What we will be talking about, Jim, we're going to talk about the extinction to expansion, how humanity can survive the cosmos.
Another hidden question within that is how humanity can survive itself.
Yes. Self-annihilation. Self-annihilation. So there's my keynote speaker, from extinction to expansion, how humanity can survive the cosmos. So we will be there for the international conference, and I hope to see all you guys there. It's going to be a great time there. I can't wait. Can't wait to be part of it. It's one of those things that I'm always thankful for. Oh yeah. I'm gonna get the rest of the report out on the breeze there, Thompson Mountain. So then we have getting into it. Share my screen here again. All right. So we will be at Berlin, Germany next year. You guys, hopefully I'll see everyone there. That was last year's. They gave out a bunch of awards, and this is this year's. This is where we're going to be. Berlin, Germany. I'll have my brother there. I'll have my family there. And hopefully everyone here will join us there in Berlin, Germany. We're going to have a fun time. My keynote address is going to be on the first day. So once I get done with the first day, it's on, everybody. We're going to be exploring, visiting castles, and just having a great time in Germany. Got a lot of friends there I'm going to meet back up with in the army that I had over there. Now, I wanted to show you guys one of these. Here we go. This is the standardized for silicone paints with improved stability. 1973 December. Now, if anybody's not aware, everybody that is a part of our Discord channel, all of these documents will be available after the show inside of our research and investigation channel in the Discord. That way you guys can actually read these documents and go over them yourselves. Actually, as soon as we're done here too, that full report on the first metallurgy report for that metal will be available. So you don't have to continue with the second episode if you would not like to. You could join our Discord, get the report, and read the entire report yourself. If you would like to join, we have on our Discord channel, we have the link is in the channel description. We also have other things that we're doing in the background. We have the metal report. We have different guest speakers that'll be coming up. I actually want to bring one up right now. Not guest speakers, but I want to bring this up as soon as it downloads. There we go. And then this one. Okay, now when it comes to the next iteration of the Galactic Family Podcast, we are going to be doing actually something very special coming up that I didn't actually plan for at all. It just fell in my lap, and I will definitely take this. I will definitely do an interview with them. So we have Guardians of the Susquehanna. Restoring our rivers, one volunteer at a time. So what we're going to be getting into is I am getting in contact with the river cleanup crew here in our area. Actually, they just got in contact with me. Tanya Nabrowski is here in my town, and actually they have a cleanup. They just got a hold of me. They have a cleanup this Sunday if I'd like to meet them there. So I will be taping this Sunday at the cleanup effort with, let me get the names here. Sorry. With Tanya Nabrowski. And we will be going to clean up the Bloomsburg Community Creek. This helps restore our waterways, keep everything nice and neat and tidy. I know that everyone here, cares about aliens and cares about this and cares about that, but we really need to preserve our waterways. Oh, my brother. Oh, thank you so much. My brother, Jeremy, he just became a YouTube member on our channel. Thank you so much, Jeremy, for being a member, helping the channel grow. You guys are what makes this channel grow. I'm so happy to have this channel, and we're shooting right now for 2,000 subscribers. We're at 1919. We're getting up there. We're trying to get some more advertisement out there, but we're not really pushing it too much. We're just going with the flow. Now we have this is coming up. Let me get you the actual as soon as it comes up. Now it wants to update everything, right? All right, I'll put it up on the other one. So we've got all right, here we go. So this one is going to be, here we go. Title, Guardians of the Susquehanna, Restoring Our Rivers One Volunteer at a Time. Galactic Family Podcast special episode. Not every hero looks to the stars. Whoop. I don't know what happened there. Okay, yeah. All right. So that was my screen. But all right. So sometimes they're standing knee deep in a river, pulling tires, plastic, and decades of trash from the waters that give life to our communities. In this special episode of the Galactic Family Podcast, we're shining a spotlight on the incredible volunteers dedicated to protecting the Susquehanna River and the streams that feed it. Their work isn't just about cleaning up litter. We are restoring ecosystems, protecting wildlife, improving water quality, and leaving a healthier planet for future generations. So join us as we sit down with the passionate people behind these conservation efforts to discuss why the Susquehanna is one of America's most important waterways, the inspiring accomplishments made by the volunteer and community partners, behind the scenes stories from the river cleanup and the restoration projects that they have, how healthier waterways benefit wildlife, recreation, and local communities, how anyone, regardless of experience, can get involved and make a lasting impact, and their vision for the future, and why environmental stewardship starts with all of us. So I just literally received that message from them now that they will be cleaning up the rivers in Bloomsburg this Saturday. I'm sorry, not this Saturday. They said it was this Sunday. So this Sunday, I will be meeting up with the Bloomsburg Community Creek Cleanup crew, and we will have you a special episode of the Galactic Family Podcast just for you. And it'll be wonderful. It'll be wonderful to see what these guys are actually doing, the cleanup efforts. And I mean, I'm excited. How about you?
Sounds great.
All right, Jim. Jim, you got anything you want to pass along from your network of experiencers that you'd like to say?
Well,
Anything at all?
What I get from the extraterrestrials is that, the whole universe is based on one energy, universal energy, in essence, a source. And this energy is what makes all things possible within existence. And interestingly, the concept of good and evil, technically there is no separation between good and evil. It's all the same force. The only difference is in how we choose to utilize it. See what I'm saying?
Well,
So there is no real.
You have you have destruction builds rebirth.
Right. In other words, and that's what I was going to get at is that we live in a random, chaotic realm, which is evident, which a lot of people don't really want to believe, but that's the way it is. It's a fact. So, I mean, for example, there's chaos, natural chaos within nature itself. I mean, a hurricane is destructive, but it's not evil. A lion killing a gazelle is violent, but not immoral.
Yes.
See, and you have natural disasters. See, the only place the concept of good and evil exists is within the human consciousness. Nowhere else in nature.
Yes.
So,
well, it's all about survival of the fittest out in nature.
Right. Now, as far as nature is concerned, where there's natural chaos within nature, and man is a part of that nature, there'll always be chaos amongst men. And that's one reason why there's never been true worldwide peace, and there never will be.
Yes. That is true. That is very true. Anything else, Jim, that you'd like to put out?
Not at the moment.
Okay. If anybody needs to reach the Galactic Family Podcast, we will be available all day today on our Discord channel. I'm on there actually right now, about to drop all of these reports and scientific studies that we had. Jim, I'll send them to you as a message, as an email. I'll send you all those.
Yeah, that's great.
Yep,
All right.
I'll send you all those reports and everything as an email.
All right.
All
right.
Anybody who's part of our Discord community, you can find us in the Discord here in about a half hour. Other than that,
one thing I would like to say.
Oh, go ahead.
One thing I like to. Yeah. One thing I would like to say is that life is a journey to be experienced, not a problem to be solved.
Yes. 100%, Jim. Thank you so much, Jim. Thank you for being here, being my co-host, man. Like,
all right, okay.
You're a rock star, man. Hey, no matter if you can't travel or not, we'll find a way to get you there. We'll go by boat.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll go by boat. We'll get you there virtually, but you will be there with us because you're part of the Galactic family, man.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Have a great night, everyone. And we will see you in the Discord, and we will continue to go over the lab analysis. I'm thinking let's do one Wednesday.
All right.
You don't have anything planned Wednesday. We'll do we'll finish up this report on Wednesday with another 2 hours. And then Friday. Right. And then next Friday we will drop the episode of the Heroes of the Susquehanna. So
all right, so Wednesday will be at noon again, right?
Yeah, same time.
Okay. All right.
Other than that, guys, great talking with you guys. Great being here. As always, Galactic Family at the Phenomenon Pulse. It's always an open studio. If you guys want to join. You see how it is right here. We have the share screen here. You guys will be on the left and the right side of the screen. Anybody is eligible to join the back chat anytime they want. If you are a member of our Discord channel, the link is in our Discord channel right now. If you are a member of our channel and you reach out directly to us on Discord, you will be given a link directly to the back chat so that every Friday when we do Phenomenon Pulse open mic in the back chat, you guys can come back here and put your 2 cents into what we're talking about and get down to the nitty gritty. But Jim, I'll leave you with the final words, man, for this one. Hold on. I need to get me off. Me off.
Okay, I like to say that nature need not a creator, for nature has a way of creating, producing, reproducing, sustaining, destroying, and rejuvenating itself.
Thank you, Jim, for that. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you on Wednesday.
You too, later.
Thing is real. It can't be.
I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program.
There is no spoon.
Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the world.
UFOs are as real as the airplanes flying overhead.
My name is Nick Pope, formerly from the British UFO Desk, and you're listening to the Galactic Family Podcast.
The signal has been received. The truth is still unfolding. The signal will continue with you.